The year is 2026. For millions of Americans, the dawn of a new year brings a familiar, pressing question. Will this be the year we finally catch a break? For the past few years, the American dream has felt like it's been slipping away, buried under a mountain of bills, rising rents, and grocery receipts that just keep getting longer. The cost of living crisis has defined this decade, a relentless squeeze on household budgets from coast to coast. But as we look toward the horizon of 2026, whispers of change are in the air. Are these the first signs of relief, or just a temporary calm in a long-term storm? Will 2026 be the year America finally escapes the cost of living trap? Let's start with the biggest expense for most families. Housing. The dream of homeownership has felt more like a fantasy for many. A whirlwind of soaring prices and daunting mortgage rates pushed countless aspiring buyers to the sidelines. But the forecast for 2026 offers a glimmer of hope. Top economists predict a modest but welcome rise in home values around 1.2%. This isn't the explosive growth we saw before, but something far more important: stabilization. The frenzied bidding wars and chaotic market are expected to cool, creating a more predictable and less intimidating environment for buyers. So, what does this mean for someone trying to buy a home? It means the market is beginning to shift from a seller's paradise to a more balanced landscape. While prices aren't plummeting, the slower pace of appreciation gives incomes a chance to catch up. A more stable market allows for thoughtful decisions rather than panicked offers. It's a crucial first step toward restoring a sense of normalcy, a sign that the foundation of the American housing market is slowly being rebuilt on more solid ground. However, the affordability puzzle has another major piece: mortgage rates. While they are expected to stabilize from their recent peaks, hovering around 6%, they remain a significant hurdle. This rate environment means monthly payments will still be a major consideration, keeping the pressure on household finances. For the nearly 44 million American households who rent, the past few years have been a story of relentless increases. Rent prices surged, outpacing wage growth and forcing families to dedicate an ever larger portion of their income just to keep a roof over their heads. In 2026, the outlook is cautiously optimistic. The data suggests a significant deceleration in rent growth. While rents aren't expected to fall across the board, the dramatic double-digit hikes that became commonplace are becoming a thing of the past. In some cities, we may even see slight decreases as the market finds a new equilibrium. This slowdown is a direct result of supply finally starting to catch up with demand. A recent boom in apartment construction is delivering more units to the market, giving renters more options and, crucially, more bargaining power. Landlords who once had dozens of applicants for a single apartment are now competing to fill vacancies. For renters, this means the frantic search for an affordable place to live might become a little less stressful. It signals a shift from a landlord-dominated market to one where tenants might finally have some room to breathe. The pressure is easing, but the cumulative impact of past rent hikes means affordability will remain a central challenge for millions. Now, let's turn to the costs that hit us every single day. Inflation. From the gas pump to the grocery aisle, rising prices have been an unwelcome guest in every American household. We've all felt the sting of a more expensive shopping cart and watched our utility bills climb. The aggressive inflation that defined the early 2020s has been a primary driver of the cost of living crisis, eroding the value of our paychecks month after month. The good news for 2026 is that the worst appears to be over. Inflation has been on a downward trend, a sign that the economic policies designed to cool it are working. However, lower inflation doesn't mean prices are going back to where they were. It simply means they are rising at a slower pace. The elevated costs for essentials like food, energy, and healthcare are likely here to stay, becoming the new baseline for household budgets. This is the harsh reality of our new economic landscape. While the rate of price increases has slowed, the cumulative effect of years of high inflation has permanently raised the bar for what it costs to live. Families will still need to be strategic with their spending, as the relief from lower inflation will feel more like a reprieve than a full recovery. The pressure on our wallets hasn't disappeared, it has just stopped getting worse at such a rapid pace. This brings us to the core of the issue: the widening gap between what we earn and what we spend. For the average American worker, wage growth has struggled to keep pace with the soaring cost of living. A small raise at work feels meaningless when the cost of rent, food, and gas has jumped by a much larger margin. This disconnect is where the crisis truly hits home. It forces tough choices: taking on a second job, delaying major life decisions, or cutting back on essentials. In 2026, this dynamic remains the central challenge. While a cooling housing market and lower inflation provide some relief, the fundamental problem of stagnant real wages persists. For a genuine recovery to take hold, incomes don't just need to grow, they need to grow faster than expenses. This is the race that will define America's economic health in the coming years. Will businesses, facing their own economic pressures, be able to provide the meaningful wage increases that workers so desperately need? Or will the gap continue to widen, leaving more families feeling like they are running in place, working harder than ever just to stay afloat? The answer to this question will determine whether 2026 becomes a year of true economic healing or just another chapter in the ongoing struggle. So, how do all these factors, housing, rent, inflation, and wages come together to shape our financial reality? We can measure this with something called the Housing Affordability Index. This index fell to historic lows in recent years, painting a stark picture of how out of reach homeownership had become. For 2026, forecasts suggest a slight improvement. The combination of stabilizing home prices and moderating mortgage rates means that, for the first time in a while, the affordability needle is beginning to move in the right direction. It's a small step, but a significant one. This slight thaw in the affordability freeze could reopen the door to home ownership for some determined buyers, particularly those who have been saving diligently and waiting for a moment of opportunity. However, we must be realistic. Affordability is still far from its historical norms. A household with a median income will still find it incredibly challenging to afford a median-priced home in many parts of the country. The path to buying a home in 2026 will still require careful financial planning, significant savings, and, for many, a dose of compromise on location or size. The dream is becoming slightly more accessible, but it remains a difficult one to achieve. Behind all the data, charts, and forecasts are the real-life stories of millions of Americans navigating this complex economic landscape. It's the story of a young couple deciding to postpone starting a family until they have more financial security. It's the story of a recent graduate moving back in with their parents to save for a down payment. It's the story of a retiree re-entering the workforce to supplement their fixed income. These are not just economic trends. They are profound, life-altering decisions being made at kitchen tables across the country. The choices are stark. For some, it means embracing a multi-generational household, pooling resources to make ends meet. For others, it means relocating to more affordable cities, leaving behind communities and support networks. It's a nationwide reshuffling, driven by the search for a place where a paycheck can stretch a little further. The resilience and adaptability of the American people are on full display, but so are the sacrifices. This is the human cost of the crisis, the dreams deferred, the plans put on hold, and the constant stress of living on the financial edge. The question for 2026 is whether this will be the year those sacrifices begin to pay off. So, as we look at the full picture for 2026, what can we conclude? Is it a year of hope or continued hardship? The answer, like the economy itself, is complex. There are undeniable signs of progress. The housing market is stabilizing, rent growth is slowing, and the fever of high inflation is broken. These trends offer a much-needed psychological and financial breather for households that have been under immense pressure. The sense of freefall has been replaced by a feeling of finding our footing. But let's not mistake stabilization for a full-blown recovery. The scars of the crisis run deep, the cumulative cost of living remains painfully high, and for many, wages have not caught up. Affordability is still a major challenge, and the path to financial security is steeper than it was a decade ago. 2026 is not a destination but a crossroads. It represents a critical turning point where the trends could either solidify into a sustainable recovery or falter under new pressures. The path forward will be shaped by economic policy, market forces, and the individual choices we all make. The year 2026 offers a fragile hope, a chance to rebuild, but it also serves as a stark reminder that the journey to economic stability is far from over. It is a year of choice. What will America decide? Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more updates on the issues that matter to you.